Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 116. In this episode of the podcast, Jen discusses networking and how to make it less awkward. I'm going to be listening very carefully to this episode. I'm pretty comfortable meeting a new person and starting a conversation. Where I struggle is on the back end, when it comes time to end an encounter and move on. I've never been very good at extracting myself from a conversation in a way that doesn't feel awkward. So it's been great. We should have coffee or something. Call me or, text or whatever. And, yeah, it's been fun. Thanks. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Hey, this is Jen, and welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, the podcast that helps you to get the job, to love your work, and to advance your career. I'm really glad you're listening today, and there are lots of different topics. We're already at episode 116, and there are episodes going all the way back to 2012 on a variety of communication topics. You may have noticed recently, though, that I've been sort of focusing in on communication topics that have to do with people who are working either in the workforce for somebody else, people who are hoping to work for somebody else, and also there's quite a bit of material that is good for the entrepreneur or the solopreneur as well. So there are lots of things going on, but how to get a job resume topics, as well as how to be more self-aware and how to communicate more effectively. There are all sorts of different topics and lots of guests as well. So I'm looking forward to continuing to bring you lots of interesting people. And today you're just listening to me. And I'm hoping that the information that I will bring to you will be useful today for you. I'm going to be talking today about networking and how to make that less awkward. So by networking, I mean those gatherings where people who don't know each other actually get together. You might know some people, but you get together and you walk around, and it's almost like a speed dating kind of thing. You go around and you meet people and you introduce yourself, and everyone wants to know what you do and, how you could benefit them or how they could benefit you. And I find these extremely awkward, and I'm an extrovert. So it's, I've been to a number of these different events, and there are jobs that you might be in that you have to do this kind of thing. If you're in sales or any of the other jobs where you have to make connections with other people. Some people are very comfortable with this, and some people are less than comfortable with this. If you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, someone who is starting a business and needs to make connections, then these are actually really good opportunities if you have a few tips and tricks in your pocket, because otherwise they can be awkward and uncomfortable and embarrassing. And I'm sure you've experienced that. I've experienced that. So here is a little bit about what I think you can do to help with that. So again, this thing actually does work. It can work if you have some of these suggestions. So I've got about 7 of them, and I'll just launch right into them now, and we'll see how far we get. And if you have any ideas or things to add to this, please feel free to do that. I'd love for you to come to communicationdiva.com. In the comments section, add some tips and tricks that you have found that have helped you with this whole networking thing, because my aim is to help all sorts of people, and if you would contribute to that, I would most appreciate it. So let's look at some of the things that you can do to help make it a better and more useful and fruitful experience for you. So the first thing is to choose wisely. So be really selective about what events you attend because not all networking events are equal. So take some time to do some research. Dig in a little bit and see who else might be attending. If the focus of the networking event is correct for the context that you're in, is this something that will fit what you are doing, or are you beyond the skill level or the capacity that this event might be offering? So, for example, is this a beginner event for whatever industry you're looking at, or is it something for people who are more established? I once went to a meetup group. You might have heard of Meetup before, and I went to a meetup group that was for writers and podcasters in the city that I live in Vancouver, and I got there, and it was in this really kind of sketchy bar, and there were two people and myself. And it was actually a really wild experience. The one person wanted to start a blog but hadn't yet. So there weren't any other podcasters there. And the other person spent the whole evening telling me about his adventures as a paid mercenary. Yeah. So, and he said he was writing a book. So, it was kind of like, okay, do I believe this person? Is this just somebody who's trying to impress, or what's going on? So anyway, I didn't stay for too long, but I'd been dropped off and I was waiting for a ride. So I kind of had to be there for a little while. And, it was just bizarre. So research and, find out, are there going to be more than two people there? And, figure out where the location is and all of the rest of it. Because you want to make sure that you're not wasting your time. Your time is very valuable, and you could be doing a multitude of other things rather than going to one of these events that doesn't suit your needs. So make sure that it fits with you and find out what the right place would be for you. The second thing to do is to decide why. Decide why you want to go there in the first place. Now, for some of you, it might be that you have to because of your work. But what is the purpose? Even if you have to, if you've been told you have to go by your boss, that's fine. But find out what the why is. What is the goal? Or what is the purpose of you being there? And if you are going on your own, if you're choosing to do this, set yourself a goal before you go. So, for example, decide how many connections you would like to make and aim for that number throughout the course of the evening. I want to make 10 connections tonight, and I want to make really good connections, and in this particular area or this particular industry or this level of expertise. And then aim for that, and that will give you a little bit of a purpose. So sometimes there are hundreds of people at these events, and there's no way you can speak to everyone. But you might be able to eavesdrop a little bit when you're grabbing something to eat or getting something to drink. You might be able to eavesdrop a little bit and overhear, okay, I don't need to talk to that person. That person's not going to meet my goal. Let me go find another person. So there are ways to do this subtly that will help you and save time. So decide on your why and figure out a goal. The third thing to do is to practice your openers. So before you get there, make sure you're practicing your elevator pitch and your opening lines or conversation starters. So one of the things that is my favorite tool to use, and you've heard me say this before if you've been a regular listener, is the tool of curiosity. So find that tool, pull it out of your toolkit, and use curiosity. Use open-ended questions like, how did you get involved in what you are doing now? Or tell me more about what you're hoping to accomplish this year in the work that you do. So use open-ended questions and get the other person to talk, because what you're trying to do if you're trying to satisfy a goal is you're quickly trying to figure out if this person is worth spending the next 10 minutes with or 15 minutes with before moving on to find someone else. So it's really important that you zero in on your goal fairly quickly. And of course, they'll want to know about you, and you never know what connections might bubble forth. But open-ended questions and curiosity are a much better tool. I've been to some of these events where people just want to talk about themselves. And I find that, it is part of the purpose, but I find it difficult to be in a conversation where the entire topic is about the other person and all the wonderful things that they're doing. Now, depending on the person, maybe that's what you want, and maybe you want other people to do all of the talking. But I do find that to be a rather difficult situation to be in, because sometimes it's just not all that interesting. Sometimes it is. So be careful about that. Practice your opening lines, use curiosity, ask those questions. And again, this will take the pressure off you and will allow people to share and to feel heard. And sometimes it is well worth finding out exactly all about the other person and what they do and all of that. But hopefully the other person will have the presence of mind to then ask about you. And that's what I'm getting at here. You want reciprocity. You want people to be willing to listen as well as willing to speak. And sometimes I find it difficult when you're encountering somebody, you've got your goals set, you're trying to move through this crowd of 100 people or whatever it is, and you don't have a lot of time to listen to this person's entire life story. Maybe you do, and maybe you won't meet all 10 people. Maybe you'll meet 3, and they'll be amazing, fantastic people who you will then have wonderful collaborations with in the future. So there's no hard and fast rule. I'm just saying that be a little bit strategic about networking, and you will get a lot more out of it, I think. So we've talked about choosing the event wisely, making sure that it fits with what it is that you need to be doing or want to be doing, and be selective and do your research in advance. Decide why you want to go there in the first place, so what your goal is, and again, you can change your goal partway through, because you might find somebody who's fascinating that you want to just stay and talk to for half an hour. So figure out your goal and your why, and don't be utterly and completely locked into that goal. Be flexible enough to be able to make those adjustments as you go. Practice your opening statements and your elevator pitch, because people are going to say, so tell me about you, or what is it that you do? And have a short, succinct, interesting elevator pitch that you can give. And you do need to practice that, because if you start, well, I do a little of this and I do a little of that, it's not slick. It's not prepared. So you want to sound prepared, and you, on your end, you want to use the tool of curiosity to find out about this person, and you can think about those questions in advance, and they can relate to your purpose. So what is it that you're looking for, and who do you want to talk to, and craft those opening questions to draw out that information, so that you can excuse yourself and move on if need be. That brings us to number 4, which is moving around. Try not to hide by the bar or get stuck with the same people all evening if they're not people that are life-giving and that are engaging and interesting and who you want to be talking with. So try to move around and remember your goal, and don't be afraid to say, I'm really glad to have met you. Let's be sure to follow up. I'm going to move around now and meet some more people, and you probably want to do the same thing. Have a great night. That's totally honest. The whole purpose of everybody being there is to move around, to mingle, to mix, to meet, to network. And so to be able to honestly say, it's been lovely talking to you. I got to move on. I've got to meet, you could even say, I've got to meet 10 people tonight, or I've got to meet 8 people tonight. And I'm looking for people who are in this industry or have this in their portfolio. Have you met anybody like that so far? You can work together. It doesn't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be abrupt. You can just be flat out honest about it. And the same goes if you have talked to someone that you think this person might be interested in. You can say, you know what? I was just talking to somebody over there. Would you like to come with me? I'd like to introduce you to that person. And that gets you out of that conversation and connects those two people who might well greatly benefit from the connection. So be helpful. as you're doing this as well, and people will appreciate that from you. So make sure you're moving around and you're not staying in the same corner for the entire night, and that you're not hiding out, because for some introverts, the tendency is, just get me out of here. When is this over? Let me go hide. And hopefully it's not that dreadful. Some people, again, thrive on this stuff and love it. So it depends on your personality, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and whether or not you have chosen to go to this event, or it is something that you're expected to do as part of your work. Number 5 is to bring your business cards. You are not going to want to share your business card with every single person that you meet, but have your business cards there to exchange with people when you feel like you want to. And then make sure that you want to follow up with make sure you will follow up with the people. Cards are a great way to get a person's name down. I know I am dreadful with names. I'm pretty good with faces, though. I can see a face and say, I know this person, I've met this person before, and I can remember a face 15 years later. But names will just fly out of my head for some reason. So I find that really difficult, and I find it very helpful to have the business cards. And I might even take a little note on the back, person in pink jacket that sells whatever, or a person in red shoes that does this, etc. A person with the wild tie. I'll scribble a little something on the back, and this will also assist me later on when I am following up and trying to remember who this person was that I spoke with. And so, again, be judicious in handing out your business cards, and it can be very helpful in getting somebody's name down. There are some people who are just amazing and who can remember a name and remember it again years and years later. And when you run into them, hi, Jen, and it's like, wow. I know your face, but I can't remember your name. This drives me crazy, and it happens to me all the time. But you might be the fortunate person who is able to remember people's names easily, or maybe you've learned some tricks for doing that, but I haven't learned those tricks yet. So remember to bring your business cards, and if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, and you're interested in standing out in the stack of business cards, you want to make special consideration of the card that you do hand out. You might even want to have some made just for this purpose that are tailored to this kind of event, so that maybe it's a little different color, maybe it's a different texture of material. Just think about your business card a little bit, especially if this is a really important networking event for you. You might want to stand out a little bit. I've seen all sorts of things. People have embellished their business cards with things, and so they stand out, or they hand out a different size. I like the business cards. They're easier to put in your pocket, but some of them are far more attractive and interesting to look at than others. So there you go. The 6th thing would be to smile a lot. Now, smiling opens you up to being approached and makes it easier for people to connect with you. If you're standing there staring at your shoes, or crossing your arms and looking at the ceiling, you're not looking very approachable. You might be looking afraid, you might be looking bored. And if you're wanting to connect with people at this event, then make sure you're smiling and your body language is an open stance. Don't cross your arms. If you've got something in your hand, that's great. But stand looking available and interested to talk to someone. Again, it can be so awkward, but there are things that can help make it less awkward if you're willing to put them into practice. So smile and try and look friendly. And if you've already met someone, and this can be awkward, you're walking around, you've met so many people, you don't remember who you've met. You might be able to, if you can't remember their name, you might be able to say, have I met you yet? I can't remember. Just be honest about it. And I find this line works really well, and it gives us both an out if we've already met. Oh yeah, right, your name is, etc. Often, thankfully, mercifully at these things, people will have those stick-on name tags that you have to put on your clothing, and I find that helps. I'm glad when we have name tags, because then if I can read them, as long as I can read them, I've got a little hint there as to the person's name. So that's number 6. Number 7 is to take notes. Again, have a pen handy and maybe a notepad if you want to make longer notes. But write on the back of the cards if you want to follow up so that you can sort them out later. I don't know how many times I've come back with a stack of business cards, throw them in a drawer, and I forget to follow up, and then I look, months and months later, and it's just too late. I met you 6 months ago. It isn't very compelling to follow up with someone months and months later. So an important thing to do, an important practice, and yes, it takes a little bit of time, but it is the most useful thing, is to take notes on the back of the business card after you finish talking to the person, or even during if you want to, just I want to write this down. Right on the back of the card, and then when you get back home or your hotel or wherever you are, make more detailed notes so that you can create a plan to follow up with that person in the next day or so, if you want to further that connection. Because again, that's the whole point of the networking event, is to make connections and find ways to collaborate that will further your purposes and further the other person's purposes as well. You might know someone that you would love this person to meet because you think they would have mutual benefit out of the meeting. And that might work the opposite way as well. Someone else might be connected to somebody who isn't at the networking event, and would be able to connect you in with someone, and the two of you could collaborate on something. So again, the opportunities at these events are wide and vast, and that's why people keep hosting them, and that's why people keep attending them, is the opportunity is there, again, if you are strategic about it. Those are sort of my basic 7 suggestions to make networking events go a little bit more smoothly and be a little bit less awkward and more enjoyable. There are a couple of other ideas to throw in at the end. One of them is to make sure that you eat your dinner first, because it's really awkward to try and hold a dish full of food and maybe a glass of wine or cup of water or whatever, and worrying about stuff getting stuck in your teeth and balancing the plate and trying not to drop things, and then shake somebody's hand and then fish out a business card and receive a business card. It's just all a little bit dangerous and awkward. So my suggestion is to have at least a good snack or your full dinner before you come, and then just have finger food, little bites here and there. The going to get food is a great way to get out of a conversation if you need to move on to meet your goals. You can, if you want to leave a dull conversation, I'm going to grab a bite of food, really nice talking to you, and off you go, and you grab yourself something at the food table, and you can find someone else to then speak to. Same with the drinks. I would be really wary, however, of drinking too much alcohol, because it's one of those situations. You're nervous, it's awkward, you don't want to be there perhaps, or maybe you do, but you're nervous. Having too much to drink doesn't bode well, and you might come across in a way that you're not happy about later on. So I would just be really careful about that. So stick to your preset goals. Meet as many people as you want to meet in your goal setting, and make meaningful connections. And I think it could be very, very useful. And I have met some amazing people at networking events that have become friends and remained friends ever since. So there is great value in a lot of this, but again, as long as you are pretty darn strategic about it. So that's what I've got for you today. Again, I would love to hear your experiences and your do's and don'ts around networking. So come over to the website and leave me some comments on this if you'd like. If you have a moment to leave a review on iTunes under the Communication Diva podcast, I would sincerely appreciate that. And share it on social media, Facebook and wherever you can, Twitter, wherever you can share this episode. You can do that with the share buttons at the bottom of the show notes page, episode 116 on the website. I've also got a book out there for those of you who are looking to start a new job and might want a few tips. It's called What They See, How to Stand Out and Shine in Your New Job. And it's available on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca, as well as Amazon.uk, probably all of the Amazon sites if you look it up. And it is a great gift for someone just starting out in the workforce. It's a short read. It's less than 200 pages, and it has a lot of information on conflict management, on how to be professional in the workplace, on body language and what to wear. And there's a 30-day risk challenge at the end that asks you to step out of your comfort zone and take a risk every single day for 30 days that will expand your horizons and be a very interesting and opening exercise for you, I think. Opening you up to new possibilities. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for listening to the Communication Diva podcast. My name is Jen Swanson, and until next time, happy connecting and networking.